What up, everybody, and welcome to Baz on Blades. My name is Baz, and I talk about blades. Well, today, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about cooking. That's right, we're going to cook something, guys. What we're going to cook, Baz, we're going to cook some G10, guys, because everybody loves a tasty piece of G10, don't they? What we've got, I'm going to dye some G10 that I did not like the color of on the knife that it was on. This is my first time. I've cut a bunch of steps out of this, but I'm going to talk you through the steps real quick because I didn't want this to be a super long video so I can get it uploaded. What I've got is I've got a Columbia River Fossil, and anybody that's familiar with the Columbia River Fossil, it comes with the sculpted brown and black layered G10 sort of overscales on it. And you know, I don't like the brown and black G10. I like the newer versions that have the black G10 on them, but I also like and prefer the full-size Fossil. In the newer black G10 versions, the full-size version is partially serrated, and I can't stand serrations. I do not own a knife with any type of serrations on it, and probably never will. So, since I can't buy a full-size black Fossil, I'm going to make my own full-size black Fossil. So what I've done, I went on YouTube, I did the research, doing the RIT dye procedure for G10. What we've got is one package of black RIT dye, this powdered dye. It's also available as a liquid, but most of the guys were recommending the black, and it was cheaper, so that's what I got. You're going to take that one pack of RIT dye, whatever color you want. You're going to mix it with 4 cups of water. That's 1 quart. And with that, you're going to put 1/4 cup of white distilled vinegar. You'll take that 1/4 cup of white distilled vinegar, your 4 cups of water, and your 1 pack of dye. And you're going to mix it up in an old pot that you've got a lid for. And use an old one, guys. I don't know if it'll ruin anything, but I do not want to be preparing food in this pot after I've done this. It smells like shit. It smells bad, guys. So what I did, since I don't have any old pots, I've just got pots that I cook in, I just went down to the thrift store and I bought a little nice heavy little pot with a lid, and I gave $3 for it. So if you need to, you can do something like that. In fact, I'm going to put that lid over it right now, so that's not blowing up in my face and I'm not breathing in something that's going to give me cancer by the time this process is over. Hold on. Alright, just set a timer there. So, with this 4 cups of water, 1/4 cup of distilled white vinegar, and your 1 pack of RIT dye, bring it up to a soft, very soft boil. It does not have to be hard boil, guys. You do not want to splash this stuff all over the place. It is dye. It will dye the shit out of everything. Just be careful with it. Don't get it on your clothes. If you get it on your hands, I don't know. I've been pretty careful so far. I don't have it all over me. But I'm sure it will dye your skin and it'll have to wear off. Turn that down just a little bit more since we put a lid on it. Now, a couple of things about dyeing G10 with RIT dye. And again, I'm not an expert. I had to research this myself, and this is my first time. But this is a pretty easy issue to understand. You cannot dye a dark G10 a light color. It's not going to get lighter, guys. You're only going to be able to dye it darker. So say if you've got this this dark brown and black G10, or a really dark blue, or a dark whatever, dark green or whatever, you're not going to be able to dye it a lighter color. Once you start adding dye to this, the only thing it will do is get darker. If you've got a dark green, you can dye it a dark red. Any of those colors, you can dye black, just like this. I don't have to worry about this. I can just throw it in there and go, and it's going to be black. Now, the time frame that everybody has given me is 30 minutes. Do it for 30 minutes. But if it is going to be a dye job that is more sensitive to coloring, and you don't want to dye it too dark, then what you need to do is do your scales in a way where you can pull them out and periodically check them. Say if you've got a really light colored scale, you want to go just a little bit darker in a different color. If you leave it in there too long, it'll darken it to the point where it's almost black. Say if you're using a red dye, if you were to leave it in there for a half an hour, you might pull it out and it'd be so dark red that it just looks almost black, except under extremely bright light. So you got to watch that. Once you over dye it, it's done. It's dark then, guys. So pull it out periodically and check it. If you pull it out and you check it and it's still too light, put it back in the dye. You can keep dyeing it darker, but you can't ever back up once you go too dark. And like I say, it looks like 30 minutes is sort of the consensus is time frame, and not so critical since I'm dyeing brown and black to just black. So I'm going to leave this for 30 minutes. Let's see. I'm not going to stay here on camera for the whole 30 minutes. I'm getting ready to pause this, but I'm going to say one thing. If you've got a Columbia River fossil and you're going to disassemble that fossil, let me give you a little warning. The pocket clip, the screws that are in the pocket clip, possibly the worst Torx head screws I have ever dealt with in my life. The instant that I touched them with a driver, they totally stripped. No pressure at all, they totally stripped. And I'm using a pretty decent little Cobalt brand Torx driver with good bits in it. I mean new. These are new good bits. Those two screws, they have a white lock, thread sealer on them. And it just, I mean, the instant that I touched those screws, they totally stripped, guys. There wasn't any way of getting around it. I even hit them with heat, and it didn't do any good. So what I ended up having to do, which pissed me off, is I had to end up taking my Dremel with a cutoff disc on it and slotting those two screws to make them basically flathead screws so I could take them out. Now it's going to look like shit. So I'm going to have to contact Columbia River and get a couple of pocket clip screws sent to me. Now thankfully, Columbia River has a fantastic warranty and part replacement system set up. They have a very, very good reputation for that type of thing. So I don't think it's going to be that much of an issue. I hope not. So what I'll do is I'll put this thing back together and use these shitty homemade slotted screws in it, and we'll just to see what it looks like, and then contact Columbia River and have them send some screws. So just be careful if you've got a fossil and you're going to take that pocket clip off. Do not make the same mistake I did. Hit those screws first with some heat. Go ahead and heat them because they are so soft, guys, and the sockets on the screws are not that deep. Once you touch that screw with your driver, it is going to just totally strip out. So be careful of that. All right, I'm going to pause this. We're going to let these cook for a half an hour. I'm going to pull them out, clean them off, and dry them off, and then we'll take a look and see what it looks like, guys. And we'll be back in 30 minutes. All right, guys, we're back. We've let these scales go for 30 minutes in the red dye. 4 cups of water, 1/4 cup of distilled white vinegar, and 1 package of RIT black dye. And I'm glad that I paused the video because I made a hell of a mess with my little pack of RIT dye. That powder is so fine. It's like flour. It goes everywhere if you even touch that little packet. So if you use the dry stuff, once you mix that, get rid of that little packet, guys. Throw it in the trash. So this is what we ended up with. I'm trying to get in the light here. I'm sort of covered up here underneath the hood over the stove. But it came out very, very black. We are going to go ahead and put this, I've already done the backside scale with the pocket clip, and just to save myself the hassle of messing with those screws that I had to slot because they stripped out. So let's go ahead and get this front side done, and then I'll let you guys take a look, see what the knife looks like here. It looks really, really good, guys. I've always thought that the brown and black layered G10 that came from the factory, the stock G10 on these, I thought it was the worst looking thing about the knife. Flavio Icoma does some really, really nice looking designs, guys. And I just thought that the brown and the black layered G10, I just thought it looked like crap. So this is what we ended up here. Let's go ahead and see if we can't come around here and get some better light on this, guys. So this is what we ended up with here, guys. Now that looks so much better than that brown black layer look. Now it's in just the plain black, and with the dimpling on it with the sort of rock pattern. Now that it's all one solid color, I think that looks a lot better now than it did in layers. You can see 30 minutes in that black dye, and it looks, I mean, it looks really, really good, guys. So I am pretty happy with that. A very easy project, except for these 2 pocket clip screws for this. You can see that, I don't know if you can see that, guys, but they look like crap is what they look like, because I had to slot them. I mean, God, those were the softest screws that I've ever dealt with on anything in my life. I've never seen anything where the screws were that soft before. You know, typically you've got, with a screw, you've got some range of torque that you can put on it. And I mean, just the instant I put any pressure at all on those 2 screws, they just totally blew. They were just totally stripped out. I've never seen anything like that in my life. And God, I wouldn't even want to guess how many hundreds of small Torx head screws that I've dealt with on knives. Those are the softest damn screws I ever saw in my life. So anyway, if you got a Fossil and you're going to take that pocket clip off, hit it with some heat first, guys. Seriously, don't even, just hit it with some heat first, and break that thread locker loose, because those are some soft ass screws. But there you go. That's our die job with the RIT die. You know, I sort of cobbled this video together. I hope it turns out okay. You know what? It's not that big of a deal. It's not that big of a deal, guys. There wasn't really anything other than being careful with the die. There really wasn't. There wasn't much to it, and this knife looks so much better now. I mean, guys, that looks good. that is what this knife should look like. It should have just black G10 on it from the factory. Yeah, that looks really, really good. I'm happy with that. So anyway, there you go. My very first RIT dyed G10 dyeing that I've ever done. I did not destroy the kitchen. I did end up with some dye on my finger. But you know what? That's my nose picking finger anyway. I'm sure it'll rub right off and you won't be able to see it on the inside of my nose. And guys, as always, I appreciate you taking the time to watch one of my videos. God bless all of you, and we will talk to you the next time.